My name is Brent Oakes. I am 37 years old and I live in Rossville, Indiana. And I was diagnosed with stage 3 squamous cell carcinoma. First time I ever used it was when it was right before a football game. I think I was 16 years old. I can't think of it. It was a game against Benton Central. And I decided to try it. You know, everybody else was doing it. So I put a dip in, and it was really disgusting. I don't think I really liked it after the first try, but because everybody else was doing it, I continuously kept trying it. I got very used to it, and it became a natural thing. And people were doing it, I put a dip in. I got pretty sick the first time, but it was, like I said, it had a lot to do with everybody else was doing it. So it was one of those things I kind of felt like peer pressure, and so I continuously kept on doing it to fit in with the guys, you know. And you get used to it. It's just like anything else. The inside of my lip would be cut, and some of my gums would be swelled up. And you don't think about those things, but I experienced those things as I was chewing. And now that I think about those things, those were getting more frequent. But it wasn't, like I said, it's not like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday I was doing it. So I didn't think that what I was doing was harmful to my body. Give an example. You know how like you get a cold sore in your lip? Okay, I just thought those were cold sores. Well, they didn't go away real fast. They would eventually widen themselves open to where they're bleeding, so that it would be very painful for you to chew. So then, as a genius that we were, we decided to swap to the other side. So yeah, we were not really using our head as much as we should have, but we were young. It's more of just a very annoying, burning sensation. I never tried to quit because I didn't think I was addicted. It's one of those mind concepts. If you're doing it socially, then obviously I wouldn't say you were addicted. It would be more of, I can quit any time, but I'm just socially doing it, so it's not that big of a deal. You know, you think about today, the average can of chews probably almost $6. A thing of cigarettes probably about $6. Kids will sacrifice eating. I remember a lot of the guys would sacrifice eating to go get a can of chew. It was just as easy to cut out a meal to go get some chew was what they wanted. So if you want something bad enough, you'll find a way to get it. And I think to this day, the majority of the guys, if I were to go up and speak to them, they're probably doing the same. Now they probably use it on a regular basis. But I think it became more of a lifelong pattern than just a social aspect. But your mind, I think, makes it easier to accept if you just say, I'm socially using it, versus I am an addict or somebody that uses it on a regular basis. I think when I was about 24 years old, I realized that if I wasn't chewing, that I would get my headaches. And that's when I realized that it became a problem. And then I tried to break myself of it. And like I said, at that point, I still didn't do it every day. But I realized that my social thought process was all kinds of screwed up because I really, without it, I lacked something. The headaches were there, and so if I put a chew in, the headaches would go away. So I was substituting something as a patch. Social addictions is just as bad as a regular addiction, because a social addiction is a person that thinks he's socially doing something, so it's not going to hurt him. I think I'm more of trying to warn people about that social addiction. Is the word social is more of an enemy, because it's an excuse to do something than it is to an acknowledgement that you're actually still addicted. That I kind of denied it, but in my mind I thought it was cancer because it was weird. It was kind of like a patch with tentacles that was on my tongue. And then after about a week or two, the tentacles and everything started falling off. Well, the headaches got worse. I think the withdrawal got worse. If anybody's ever chewed before, they realize that there are certain parts of your body, like getting addicted to pop. Without it, you have a withdrawal of some sort. And I was withdrawing, and it was easier for me to continue it than to go with the withdrawal. They would actually get severe. It was like migraines. Well, the headaches never went away at that point. So that was at that point where I realized the pattern. But I never would have thought it would lead me to where I was diagnosed with cancer. I was very sick. I had a lot of health issues. I was bleeding. But a lot of that I thought could have been from my sports, because a lot of times they refer to that as some kind of a trauma that you experience through sports. Addictions in general are, I think the word addiction is classified with somebody that's a full-time user. But nobody acknowledges addictions as being something as a social addiction, or it could be an addiction as far as like popping in, using, you're just around your friends. I call that peer addiction. It's peer pressure. It's something that when you're around people that you do it and you don't think about those things. Cigars, cigarettes. I know people that go out and they call themselves a social smoker. You don't think about those things, but those things, what you put in your body is either going to accept or reject. Now, the difference between accept is an accepting means it becomes a craving. Think about when you're depressed, a lot of times you want to eat. Your body is accepting depression with food. It's becoming more of a comfort. That's what my body did. It became where I felt like smokeless tobacco was my comfort. Didn't think of it as a big deal, but it was something that was my secret. Yeah, now that I'm at my age, I think about all those little things, but I wish I had thought about those things at a younger age. At that point, I started getting very concerned with my past catching up with me. You know, I kind of wish I hadn't done this. I wish I had been a little bit different. And you know, I wasn't in bad shape. I was in pretty good shape. I'm physically active. I boxed, martial arts. well, it can't be something serious, you know. So those were the things you think about. It starts playing a toll on your mind where you're thinking, okay, I'm married, I have 3 kids, I have a full-time job. So your mind balances out with, okay, I've got to work, but at the same time I'm sick. So you kind of push the mindset as a battle, trying to figure out what you're doing, but at the same time you're dealing with life issues in general. But like, once again, I didn't do it every day. So, and I'm elaborating on this because for somebody that socially uses smokeless tobacco, it doesn't matter if you do it once a month. All it takes is your body chemicals, and your body reacts totally different than somebody else's. So it was very concerning to think that a social user could possibly be affected by it. Doctor did tell me that I would have to learn to talk all over again. Life smacked me in the face real quick. I realized that, man, I wish I had done things completely different. I wish I had my mom that was over there smacking me around saying, son, listen, you know, as a high schooler, you don't want to listen to your mom, you don't want to listen to your dad. Well, they don't know nothing. You know, everybody's heard that old saying, mom don't know nothing. Once I had stopped, the headaches, the withdrawals continued. My sickness, my ailments kept on going. And at that point, it wasn't shortly thereafter, I think roughly about 2 years into it, that I was diagnosed with a stage 3 squamous cell carcinoma. And what I thought was a cold sore was full-blown cancer. And what metastasized means that it's like an octopus tentacles. The tentacles itself spreads and continues to spread throughout your body. And once people need to realize this, is that cancer does not give you like major warning signs. It'll give you little tiny flicks and pieces letting you know that it's there, but you don't acknowledge it. Well, I was told to get a will, and to be prepared at most, I could live up to about 2 years. Because I think at that point in time, the statistics was 82% of people with squamous cell carcinoma or head and neck cancer get it back within 5 years. And when it comes back like a boat sinking fast. So, and that was the first time I'd ever seen my father cry. So yeah, it was kind of scary. At that point in time, I thought I'd lost the battle. I thought my decisions, my past had caught up with me. Well, I called my wife on her cell phone, and I told her that she needed to come in. The doctor needed to see both of us. And the doctor said that he has cancer. And I started crying because, you know, I have 3 kids. I mean, how do I explain to them that their dad was ignorant, that he didn't pay attention to warning signs, he didn't pay attention to the fact that he wasn't just a social addiction, that he should have learned and been smarter. And I wanted to see my kids graduate. I wanted to see my daughter get married. And as you're young, you don't think about those things. They had marked me from my chin point all the way around like butterfly wings, because there was a tumor on this side that the PET scan had showed. This side needed to be removed, 1/3 of my tongue. So in order for them to get into my neck, they had to butterfly it and lay it open to cut the cancer out. And it was, he had to cut my nerve in order to get out, because some of the cancer had gotten into the nerve. And they removed 1/3 of my tongue. So when they did that, it was one of the things is they don't tell you is that you can't talk. If you were to stick your tongue out and grab the tip of your tongue and try to talk, you sound real funny. Well, same thing here. Is you talk like you have a speech impediment. Because in order for cancer in itself to be what they say controlled, you have to fight it at a very fast rate. It's not like, okay, you go surgery and then 6 months later you continue. You go into surgery and then shortly thereafter you go right into chemo and radiation. So as you're trying to recover, I just remember waking up, give an example, as I had 2 humongous tubes that went into my neck and went up into my head. So that way the open space where they cut the portion of my neck out would allow the blood to drain. If it had formed an infection, it can get to it faster. They had smashed my tongue down because once it's cut, it's swollen. So they had to find a way that I didn't choke on my tongue. The feeding tube was installed. So I actually refused chemo. That was my choice. And I think more or less because I felt as if, once again, that I was able to handle the radiation and go from that point. But they did decide to do strong radiation, which was 33 treatments of radiation. And the radiation in general, you don't think much about it because you don't know much about it, but it's like microwaving your neck and your jawbone. And in order for you to go through radiation, they form this mask over your face and over your shoulders, and they strap you down to a table, and you cannot move for 30 minutes or 15 minutes, however long it is. And you feel the heat, and I got real bad burns in my neck, and I got sores inside of my mouth. So for the people that don't want to ever go through that, they need to start looking at, if you're a social user or a regular user, you need to think about what I'm explaining. Is you can't eat, your throat feels like it's on fire, and if you were to do anything, you're gasping just to put out a fire that you can't put out. But the side effects are horrific. My taste buds, it tasted like I was basically, and if I put anything in my mouth, it tasted like copper. I was eating metals. So if you enjoy food, needless to say, it tastes like metal. And then I had to put like a silver cream all over my neck in order to get rid of the burns. I had to do all kinds of things. Vitamin E, aloe vera gels to help with that, the pain medicine, mouthwashes. Well, the things that I deal with now is that the radiation had fried some of my saliva glands, so my saliva glands don't work accurately. It's hard to eat. If you eat anything, you always have to have water. If I talk, now I had met other people that had the same surgery, and to this day they cannot talk. Well, now instead of me living life, I became fighting for my life. So life perspective changed. It was, now I was seeing the world in a big picture versus a small, minute picture. when you're diagnosed with a terminal ailment or terminal disease like cancer in general, you're now looking at how do I fight for my life instead of living life. So I was looking at how do I take care of my kids? How do I provide for my kids if I have passed away? How do I tell my wife and ask for forgiveness for something of just pure ignorance? How do I make up for my wrongs? So yeah, I think everything that you can possibly think of does cross your mind. What can I do to stop people? So I think it became my number one mission, is to talk to people about something that not too many people talk to me about. You get to the part where you never know, every little ailment in your life or in your body can trigger it. So I am always fighting for my life, but as of right now, I am cancer-free. I am have 4 children, and I am loving life in general. I have to go get checkups, and these checkups are not easy, remind you, as I have to have a scope that goes down my nose into my throat to check for cancer. So think about that as you're wanting to try smokeless tobacco, is about the scope that goes down your nostril. It's terrible. The lowest point was in the oral surgeon's office, when I actually had to acknowledge that it was cancer. And I had to acknowledge that my past met my present. A father can only explain, excuse me, I don't want to get emotional on it, but to look in your child's eyes and to tell them you may not live because you decided to do something silly. It's kind of scary. And to be able to look at your children and say, you know what, hey, I want to try to prepare you for something. I want you to know that Daddy loves you, that that Daddies may not be around very much longer, and try to ask for forgiveness, because your kids are suffering for your decisions. So, yeah, it was tough. That was my lowest point. The message I want to send to all people that get to watch this, young, old, whatever, is that smokeless tobacco is very, 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 very serious, very strong. It's one of those that will get you in the dark. You can't see it coming, and when it gets a hold of you, it's hard to get rid of. And the people that are addicted cannot acknowledge an addiction. Why? Because it becomes more of a routine. And you do have withdrawals. People don't want to talk about it. Literally, I've had people get upset with me when I start talking to them. I'd be like, do you get headaches? Do you bleed? Do you get nosebleeds? That's some signs that you may get. People don't want to talk about them. And I encourage everybody out there to think about what you're putting in your body. I don't care if it's smokeless tobacco to cigarettes, what you put in. If it doesn't come out, or if you think cigarettes are harmless, then you're mistaken. So So I do believe that I got a second chance, and in that second chance, I'm trying to prevent others from going or facing the same thing that I went through. I now face a different agenda. I am now no longer a social addiction facer. I am now a full-time advisor to people that chew, people that smoke. I stand fast with my oncologist and go to the Brickyard 400s, and I go to basketball games, baseball games. If you really want to make a difference in a child's life, you must acknowledge certain things in your own life. Prime example is I didn't acknowledge something in my life that affected my children. I want people to see exactly that sometimes when you look at somebody, they may look okay, they may sound okay, but a lot of times how do I say this? I want people, whoever's watching this video, whoever meets me, they get to know me real quick. They first of all know the choices that I make, and they need to know what's out there, what smokeless tobacco can do. Just the very minute amount of smokeless tobacco can do as a social user, and what can we do to talk about it? I think we avoid talking about some subjects because we don't acknowledge it. So talk about it. If you see something, if you know a friend that's chewing, talk to them about it. You don't think about saving a life as talking about it, but it can. One subject can lead to ultimately saving a person's life. I would actually, if I knew then, I would start the fight against it, because I have lost a few good friends over a few years to social addictions, and they acknowledge it the same as I did. The only difference is I'm here to talk about it and they are not. People out there support certain things that are harmful to others, and I'm the one out there giving the advice. I'm the one out there giving the pamphlets. I'm the one out there telling them, stop. Take the opportunity to think not for yourself. Don't be selfish, but think about the children that you may affect, because one thing that you must realize is that one life change doesn't just affect your life, it affects everybody around you. So it's more of my goal now is to help others. My dad still, even after I was diagnosed with cancer, he was very quiet spoken against tobacco, because a lot of the guys he knew did it. It wasn't until he went one day with me to my radiation treatment and seeing these little children, 18 months, 3 years old, that were being put to sleep for treatments, and that he realized that we as people become very selfish, because these children are fighting for their life at a very young age, and they did nothing to themselves, and they're fighting. So when you look at what you're doing to yourself and then you're fighting for your life, you're thinking, okay, if I had seen this picture, I think I would have thought a little bit different. So my dad changed his opinion on that at that point. He started talking to people about it. You need to be very careful what you put in your body. You need to research it. You need to study it. Be smart. Think about your body as your child, because what you do to it will affect your future.